Look at any major American city today, and you see a grid of steel and glass. It looks like the ultimate finished product. We're taught that this rise to global dominance was a meticulously executed master plan, laid out by architects who knew exactly what they were building from day one. But that version of history skips over the panic. In reality, the foundation of American dominance is built on a series of spectacular accidents, complete institutional failures, and sheer desperation. To understand how this superpower actually came to be, we have to look past the polished textbook myths and investigate the messy, chaotic disasters that forced this country into existence. The first English attempt to establish an empire in North America set a high bar for failure. In the late 16th century, the Crown sent an expedition to Roanoke Island with the expectation of conquering the New World and extracting its resources. Almost immediately, the expedition fell apart. The colonists, many of whom were military men, were completely unprepared for survival. They burned local Native American villages over minor disputes, triggering hostilities that cut off their only potential food supply. Soon, they faced brutal starvation and widespread disease. When a relief mission finally arrived years later, the entire settlement had vanished. The only evidence left behind was the word Croatoan carved into a wooden post. The first attempt at an American footprint was a total catastrophe. The grand plan failed, leaving behind nothing but a mystery. Fast forward to 1607, and the English tried again. This time, a corporate venture set up a settlement called Jamestown. Driven by investors hoping for quick profits, the colonists arrived expecting to scoop gold right off the ground. Instead of gold, they found a malaria-infested swamp. The settlers were so obsessed with prospecting that they completely neglected to plant any crops. It was a geographical and logistical death trap. The colony was on the brink of total collapse when Captain John Smith took command. He implemented a near-dictatorial rule, forcing the men to abandon their search for precious metals and manually plant food just to keep everyone from starving. America's first permanent English foothold survived because the original mission was violently scrapped in favor of pure, improvised desperation. A century and a half later, the tensions between the colonies and the British Empire reached a boiling point. In April 1775, a small group of Massachusetts militiamen faced off against professional British regulars on the Lexington town green. Both sides were highly armed, but the parameters of the standoff were strict. The militia commander ordered his men to stand their ground but hold their fire. The British officers gave their troops the exact same command. Then, someone pulled the trigger. To this day, nobody knows exactly who fired the shot or why. It was an unauthorized, accidental discharge from an unknown source. But in that confined space, that single crack of a musket caused panicked soldiers to unleash a ragged volley into the crowd. The conflict that gave birth to the United States was ignited by a complete accident. By 1803, the young nation needed room to grow. We often frame the Louisiana Purchase as a bold stroke of American ambition, but in reality, it was a lucky real estate deal born entirely out of foreign desperation. France's ruler, Napoleon Bonaparte, was hemorrhaging money on his wars in Europe. He needed cash immediately. He offered to sell the massive Louisiana territory for a bargain, inadvertently doubling the size of the United States overnight. Less than 50 years later, another massive expansion happened without any government planning whatsoever. In 1848, a few shiny flakes were spotted in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. The gold discovery triggered a panicked, uncontrolled stampede of greed. People flooded the West from all over the globe, overwhelming the territory with hundreds of thousands of unprepared prospectors. This sudden population explosion left the country physically divided. To keep the fractured nation from falling apart, the government was forced into the rapid construction of the Transcontinental Railroad. America conquered the continent by reacting to a bargain bin land deal and an uncontrollable gold fever. This pattern of survival by panic continued into the 20th century, most notably during the space race. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched a tiny silver sphere into orbit. The realization that a communist satellite was actively flying over American airspace created an absolute existential crisis. The U.S. government was terrified. That sheer terror forced another massive, unplanned pivot. The nation immediately scrambled, pouring resources into aerospace development and creating the advanced computing and communications technologies that form the backbone of our modern world. The digital infrastructure we rely on today was accidentally birthed from a desperate scramble to not lose a geopolitical rivalry. Stripped of its myths, the history of the United States reveals a brutal, relentless ability to adapt to failure and reinvent itself on the fly. If history's greatest superpower was built step by step through accidents, panics, and disasters, what terrifying accident is required to shape the future of our world?